Hey everybody, I know this is the first video I've uploaded on this channel in a while. Today I want to talk about Splatoon 3 and more specifically my impressions of the Splatfest demo that just happened. At the time of recording, the Splatfest demo just ended yesterday, and fortunately I was able to put a few hours into it. I didn't get to play, through the full 12 hours, but I did get to try a lot of the new weapons and see a fair number of stages. I have a few notes, but this video is not scripted, so it might sound a little bit rambly. I'm going to start by talking about gameplay elements like new weapon classes and new specials, and then I'm going to end by talking about Splatsville, which is honestly the highlight of this demo in my opinion. Okay, first let's talk about the new Tri-Stringer weapon. I had a lot of fun with this one. So basically, as you can see, it's a bow. Tapping on the R button shoots 3 globs of ink a short distance in a spread pattern, and it's quite good for covering the ground. If you just keep on, rapidly tapping the R button, you can get pretty good ink coverage on the ground, but the range is very limited. Briefly holding in the trigger to charge to level 1 will allow you to fire 3 of what are essentially bomb arrows. They go further than the regular ink globs that you get by tapping, and when they hit, they splash down and leave a little puddle of ink, and then a moment later they also explode. They don't seem to do much damage with the explosion, and they don't have like a very big range, but it's pretty cool. You basically can fire 3 bomb arrows at a time. And then if you charge to the second charge level, it just sends those same arrows further. Overall, I think that the Tri-Stringer is a lot of fun. I think that the arcing shot and charging it to level 2 and getting that long-range arcing shot is going to be a really good way to hit enemies who are behind walls. In my experience, it wasn't the best way to splat opposing players, but I think it is pretty versatile, pretty creative and fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to trying out more weapons in this class in the full game. There's another new weapon class, the Splatana. So the Splatana feels like the paintbrushes from the previous games, but you can't run along and paint along the floor as you go. You can fling paint in a little horizontal splash by just tapping the button, or you can charge up and then you do a little forward dash and like a vertical paint splash. It's cool. I want to play around with it more. I think I probably will use it somewhat in the new game, but I don't think it's going to be one of my main weapons. As much as I like the idea, I do generally prefer to have a bit more range. But, the range is not too bad. It really does feel like an iteration on the paintbrush more than like a totally new thing. Okay, so let's talk about specials now. The Reef Slider is fun. I like the idea. It looks cool. It's a very creative, kind of funny idea for a weapon. Just this inflatable shark propelled by basically pop bottles full of carbonated ink, I suppose. It moves quickly, and the explosion at the end covers a decent amount of turf. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be one of my favorite specials. It's a fun idea, but it's kind of limited. It just moves forward in a straight line. You can't control it after it starts, as far as I can tell. Unless I'm missing something. Correct me if I'm wrong. Here's some footage of me using it and actually managing to splat a few people in Mahi Mahi Resort, because, a swimming pool level seems like the perfect place to use this special. The crab tank is pretty cool. It has pretty good firepower. You can do rapid shots or like a big cannon of ink. And obviously you can walk it around. You can also roll up into a ball and roll around. You're pretty vulnerable to being attacked from behind, and it doesn't have great mobility. It's fairly slow to move. But obviously, they have to balance these things out. If it was really mobile and you weren't vulnerable from behind, it would be pretty OP. So as long as you use it smartly, I think it's fun. I think it's going to be pretty effective. And yeah, here's some footage of me just showing its mobility, which, as I've said, is limited. But I like the idea. I think it looks cool. I think it's fun to use. And like I said, I think that it will prove to be fairly useful in battle. The Wave Breaker is a neat little idea. It just, as you can see, puts out these shockwaves. Nintendo games seem to like shockwave attacks. You can avoid the shockwaves by jumping over them, but if they hit you, they deal damage and they also mark you. The ink vac is a cool idea. I think it's interesting to have a special that is basically a counter, and it does seem to do like the final blast of paint is pretty big, so I think that one will probably be pretty useful. And then there's this stretchy arm acrobat power that lets you hook onto something from far away and zoom over to it, and you can stick to walls. You can fire your weapon while using it. I think that this one is going to be really good for pushing into enemy territory because you can quickly, get past enemies, go deep into their territory, briefly spray some ink, maybe splat someone, and then when the power ends, you just like super jump automatically back to where you started. So it could be a good way to quickly advance, strike behind enemy lines, and then basically automatically get evacuated back, hopefully before you get taken out. I also want to talk about one of the sub-weapons. This is a new sub-weapon called the angle shooter. So basically you throw it out in front of you and it moves very quickly. At first I thought it might be a hit scan, but no, you can see it traveling, but it does go very quickly and it goes in a straight line. It bounces off of anything it touches and continues in a straight line after that bounce. Obviously it doesn't go forever, there is a limit to its range. So if you directly hit someone with the projectile itself, it causes damage, and I believe it also marks them. But if they hit the trail behind it, it does not cause damage, but it will mark them. I haven't done a side-by-side comparison to the previous games, but it feels like the specials charge up really quickly in this game. Like, it feels like they're a little bit faster to charge. I might be wrong about that. That's just what it feels like. Yeah, the weapons that I've tried have pretty much all been fun to use. Like, I'm not into the the sniper types. What are they called? I'm never really good at sniping in games. But that's just a me thing. I don't think that there's anything wrong with those weapons, and they were being used effectively in the demo. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. The online stability was pretty good. I think I had one match crash on me, but I wasn't noticing much in terms of latency. In fact, I didn't notice any latency or rubber banding. There might have been some, but not enough for me to notice. Yeah, the online performance seemed really stable and fast, aside from, as I said, that one match that crashed. But overall, yeah, it feels good to play. It feels good to move around and to use the weapons. And the online performance, I think, is going to be pretty good if this is a good indicator. I really like the fact that while you're waiting for a match, you can run around the test range and practice with your weapons and just have something to do. It's a lot better than just standing in that menu messing with the music like in the previous game, although messing with the music was a cool idea, but it's fun for about 10 seconds. By the way, I do miss the squid jump minigame, although it was a very simple, limited game and it was pretty stressful. It was a fun thing to do during matchmaking, and I kind of wish that it was back. But being able to run around and practice with your weapon is a pretty good alternative. Okay, so I'm done talking about gameplay, and now I want to move on to the thing that I actually liked the most about this demo, and that was just walking around Splatsville. I really like this hub area. I've liked the hub areas in the previous games as well. They were a lot of fun, but this, I think, is my favorite one so far. It's bigger than the other ones. It's the biggest hub area that we've seen so far in this series. It's not enormous, it's not like an open world city that you can walk around, but there is a pretty big explorable area. There are like little back alleyways. The graphics are really nice in this game. Obviously the Switch cannot do 4K or anything like that, but the art direction is fantastic, and on a technical level, the graphics look really good. And I just love this world design. I love this diverse kind of melting pot city. I love the atmosphere. There are a lot of good particle effects, a lot of good lighting, and just really cool world design where it really does feel like a real city. Obviously things are cartoony, but There's enough attention to detail in the graphics and in the design of this city hub area that it really does feel like a vibrant, breathing, convincing city area. Also, it feels, like I said, like a cultural melting pot. Obviously, the Splatoon games have always taken inspiration from Japanese culture, and there's some influence from American culture in there. But in this case, it feels like there's also a little bit of Chinese influence in some of the architecture, specifically in some of the gates. Like here we see Japanese-style torii gates, which obviously are, as I've said, Japanese. But over here we see what looks to me a bit more like a Chinese-style Paifang gate. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert in East Asian architecture, but this does look similar to that Chinese style of gateway. I'll throw up some comparison pictures. I'm comparing this gateway in Splatoon 3 to one in Montreal's Chinatown. And you can see the kind of three-part structure is pretty similar. And then here's a comparison of another gate in Splatoon 3 with another gate from Chinatown. And you can see that the colors and patterns and architectural decorations are pretty reminiscent of one another. So it's cool to see that in addition to Japanese culture and American culture, it looks like this setting might be taking a bit of inspiration from Chinese culture as well. And the Splatfest specific things in this area are really cool too. You can see Fry, Shiver, and Big Man each individually on these little wooden airships. It's cool, you can see the performers on screen, but you can also see them out there in the world like in previous games, but this time they are actually moving through the hub world in a circuit. I think that having these weird flying elements overhead is really cool. I like the particle effects that trail behind them. In general, there's some good particle effect work here. Like every now and then you'll see a little cloud of haze. The music is great. You can see other characters dancing. You can see the little jellyfish who have always been super cute. There's one here with bracelets all over him. And yeah, this is such a cool hub area. Also, every now and then a big like passenger jet flies low overhead. You can see a train go by periodically. I only actually noticed the train go by once, but I'm assuming it goes by every few minutes or so. Yeah, it's just a really fun, vibrant little place to walk around in. Honestly, like I had as much fun exploring this area as I did actually playing matches. Now obviously, the magic of exploring this area will wear off eventually, but it's still just a really cool place to be in. It'll be cool to see it, you know, in different modes essentially. Like before the Splatfest, it was just in a kind of twilight mode. You know, it looked like sunset, and the Splatfest stuff was like partially set up but not active yet. Like the wooden ships were not yet flying. And now during the Splatfest, it's nighttime and everything's really alive. Everybody's partying. It's going to be cool to see what it looks like just without a Splatfest going on as well. I can't wait to go into all the shops and stuff. I went into a couple of shops, but the shopkeepers just halfway through greeting you, they're like, wait, you're not supposed to be here. Come back when you're a higher level. But you know, you've already seen what the interiors of the shops look like if you've seen the direct. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to going into the shops and just buying new gear, buying new clothing and weapons. That's always fun. That's always a good motivator. Like I said, this video was not scripted. I had some notes, but it was not fully scripted out, so I apologize for sounding a bit rambly, but I wanted to get this video out, you know, soon after the Splatfest demo ended. The point is, I had a lot of fun. I love the setting, I love the visuals, I love the gameplay, and I don't really see any downsides so far. If you liked the first two games, I think you're probably really going to like this one. I mean, obviously the full game is not out yet, so I can't say for certain, but this demo really gave a good first impression. I am very excited to play the full game when it comes out. I wish I could be playing it right now, but you know, I gotta wait a few more days. If you want to let me know what you thought of the demo, you can do so in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you eventually with another video, maybe, hopefully. I don't know how to end videos. Goodbye!